Hello, Meoni here, and welcome back to another video for Final Fantasy XIV. So more recently I had a bunch of people, both on Discord and in comment sections, asking me what my favourite mounts were in this game. Now, I did a video on minions before and people seemed to like that, and I put in a little bit of detail to explain why I went for certain minions. So here we go, my very own top 10 mounts in Final Fantasy XIV. So far. Now bear in mind this is my list, your list is going to be completely different. Let's try and keep it constructive below if possible. To note, I'm not a big mount collector in this game. When it comes to anything, I actually prefer collecting minions and glamour, mostly because those items are usually not locked behind rankings or anything like that, and it's much easier for me to obtain them. Mounts, however, are regularly in feast tournament seasons as rewards for the top 100, the last boss of an entire Savage raid tier, you name it. All of these things are much harder to collect because of where they're from. Saying that though, it's not for the lack of me wanting to do them, it's just usually my time isn't allotted for that sort of content. Saying that, my collection being tiny does have some nice nuggets along the way. I think then we should start obviously at number 10 then, which has to be Hybodus. This is from Ocean Fishing, scoring 10,000 points on a single fishing trip in total, basically requiring a serious amount of luck of a draw and a competent team of people fishing on your boat. The 3 spectrals required for the points you need take a very long time to actually accumulate, and yeah, you just have to keep going at this until you get lucky. I got pretty lucky early on and did a guide on this mount pretty much near the release of the actual content, so I was quite happy about that. Although the methods I put into the guide worked for me and so many other people, but of people who have commented about this, some had less luck and were decisively less thankful for a guide that in their opinion didn't work, which is completely fine. Everyone can express themselves in many different ways, but some of the feedback I got from that video was not very flavorful, let's say. But I'm sat here with a mount and just tried to help others by showing them how I actually did it. So that's really all I can actually do as a content creator, is just show you how I got things. It's really beyond that pure luck. It's honestly a mount that caught a lot of us off guard when it was released. The idea of a flying shark mount in general is just frankly awesome, especially when many of us had seen similar monster designs in dungeons. To mind, I think we saw these in the drowned city of Scala, something like this was in there, and the areas around Ruby Sea also have floating shark enemies as well. They are really well detailed things, and the mount carries a lot of that detail across to it. It has an hilarious write-up in its flavor text, written no doubt by Koji Fox. You can usually tell if he's done the work on some of these mounts because they're frankly, well, yeah, you have yourself in stitches reading them. And whilst it's at the bottom of my mount list, it's still one that I love to chill on occasionally, mostly due to how unique it is, and obviously the seated animation where you actually lie down. This is probably the only mount where you actually do this as well. It's quite interesting, looking almost too comfortable on the back of this killer shark. So now it has to be on my list, in my opinion. Next we have Corpoca Colossus. This will cost you 750,000 MGP. Coming in at a relatively low MGP cost, in my own opinion, this is one of the best sounding mounts in the game with its various flopping noises as you move. It's one of the coolest concepts for such a cute creature, and it's a really fun way to display your character on it, sort of clinging to the side, hanging on there. There have been many times you look at a monster in this game and go, oh, I would totally love to put a saddle on that and ride it off into the sunset, but I never imagined that we could be treated to this as a mount in particular. It's just hilarious. It's just a big green fuzzball with a plant sticking out of its head, a little beaky mouth and beady little eyes, the little droplet of water balancing atop the leaf there. It's pretty much a Pokemon when you think about its design. Like, if we actually go down to brass tacks and look at this, it looks like something from Pokemon. The Corpoca are seen in a couple of dungeons in Heavenswood in particular, notably from St. Mosian's Arboretum, where these things ambush you quite regularly. Supposedly they were genetic experiments from Charlian botanists or something, which is quite interesting. These big old bouncy boys are pretty awesome, and 750,000 MGP might seem steep to some, but then you can just do Fashion Report Friday, of which I do a video series every Friday, and you'll get it in no time. It's some of the best MGP you can spend in the game, especially if you're under the 1 million MGP mark. Alright, a small detour from the cute to the pure awesome, the Black Pegasus, oh boy, obtained then from the Palace of the Dead as a rare drop from gold-trimmed sacks, which you can actually only get from floors 151 all the way up to 200 inside the Palace of the Dead itself. You can also market trade this mount as well, but the cost of this mount will easily be over 20 million gil. I think that's the lowest I've seen it recently, maybe 19, something like that. I remember when it was more relevant that this was close to 45 million gil, but that was quite some time ago now. A lot of people are doing Palace of the Dead for something to do, and you might see them quite regularly on your data center. Or not, depending. It's just a wonderful design. You see, you take a Realm Reborn horse mount, strap wings to it, make it look amazing, glowing in the darkness there, give it a dark sort of aesthetic, and boom, you've made a very reputable and very lovely mount indeed. Sharing a ton of design similarities, obviously, with its sister model, which is the normal Pegasus mount, which you can get from the Ishgard Restoration nowadays, as it used to be a reward from the old mode of Diadem. It holds a lot of character, and usually when you see people with this variant, and you've done any Palace of the Dead down to those floors in particular, then you can feel the sheer luck they've encountered from what is a great challenge indeed. The fact that it's market tradable opens it up to more people, which is personally fine by me, but some do immediately feel the need to ask you personally if you did the Palace or just bought it with Gil, with varying degrees of tutting as a result, depending on your answer. But it is what it is. It is a great mount to add to your collection, whether you do the Palace of the Dead or purchase it. Number 7 on my list is Roygo. This is originally part of the Garrow event. This horse was the pretty much ultimate reward out of the 3 you could get. The Garrow event has since been ended in the game, and you can no longer obtain this or any of the Garrow stuff from the Wolf's Den Pier, which in my opinion is quite a sad moment. So this was actually from the Furious Fatalities achievement. That was basically winning 60 battles in Frontline and the Feast with a Garrow title on your character. Not a particularly hard thing to do by any stretch of the imagination, probably now it would be with queue times, but certainly took me a while to grind out even back then. I know, right? Meoni actually doing PvP. It was certainly a scene to behold, let me tell you, and I'm not sure I will revisit that sort of part of me again. It was quite stressful. I love Roygo, not for the PvP direct relation, nor for even the relationship to Garrow, the TV show, but its sheer design. It's so damn good looking. It has such a pleasing aesthetic with all these spines and spikes. It's the perfect mount for a Dark Knight to sit on and at least look about 20% edgier whilst doing so. It sprouts large black wings in flight mode and has them tucked away in normal horse ground mode. It's a pleasure to ride around, and I love the angular nature of this mount in general. If anything, it makes me wish we could have some sort of like bone related horses in the game, undead or whatever, similar to how World of Warcraft does it. It could be a really cool thing to see something made out of bones or, you know, an undead mount. But then, obviously, some countries don't allow for that, so yeah, it probably will never happen, considering this game's, you know, sold in China as well. Whilst I don't hold breath for the mounts ever being made obtainable in the game ever again, maybe cash up, who knows, it would be cool for them to return the Garrow event with new stuff in addition, but who knows at this point. Next, the Magitek Predator mount, a rare drop then from the last boss of the Alamigo dungeon that you hit at level 69 in Stormblood. I'm not going to mention that boss's name for the last boss because some people might not have finished Stormblood yet, and to all of the newcomers to Final Fantasy XIV, I say welcome, enjoy your stay. It's going to be quite the stay indeed, I assure you. It's very addictive and fun. This mount is a painful reminder to me that no matter how much I run a dungeon, no matter how many times I attempt to help others, sometimes fate is just simply not kind to me. I can't even count how many times I've seen this drop in a group and not won it with really, really bad rolls. Like, we're talking 1 to 19 maximum sort of roll, sort of level. It's pretty crazy. And since 5.0, I've soloed the damn thing endlessly to try and get this without seeing it a single time. It was only when the previous itinerant Moogle, the Moogle Treasure Trove event, came around that I was able to actually just purchase it with tomes. It was both a painful reminder of my bad RNG to purchase it finally, and massive happiness that I finally actually got the thing. But part of me still wants to go through that dungeon and try and get it again just so I can discard it. Just discard it in front of the boss. That would be great fun. The reason I wanted this so badly is that it's such a cool design. I'm massively into Magitek designs, especially when it came to the one from the MSQ designed to look like the walkers from Final Fantasy VI. When they put the recolors on the Mog Station, like the Red Baron, etc., and Livia Junoir's mount as well, the white one, I had to purchase them. I'm a glutton for stuff like that, and recolors of that mount, yeah, they were an instant purchase. So to have this, basically a Magitek Reaper, a War Machina that would have originally had massive guns atop it, but as this flavor text tells you, has the guns removed and replaced with high-powered rocket engines that allow flight. The bladed claws on the front, the color scheme, everything screams practical weaponry that you could actually imagine being used in a war scene. I love it. I honestly stared for hours at this model trying to figure out how I could make one in real life. It's my idea of a perfect advancement of the Magitek Walker theme, and I'm always excited to see what next we see the Garlean's fighters with, because I mean, whether it's like a helicopter robot Magitek thing, or a walker, or, you know, a big drill robot, it's so exciting to see what they come up with next, because they're so much more advanced in that sort of side of things, and yeah, I want some of those other things as mounts as well. Number 5 then, the halfway mark definitely needs more cuteness. The Great Vessel of Rohnke. Finishing the questline for the Qitari Beast Tribe in Shadowbringers is what you need to do to get this. I wasn't sure at first when I got this, but when I started to use this sort of like more and more as the days went by, the more I messed around with it, the more I loved it. The endless scree noises, the squeaks as you move around, so you can just tap a button and it squeaks every time you tap that button. The animations, the fact that it's just a squishy dude in a vase. I can't hate this at all, it's just not possible. The Serpents of Rohnke are easily the best addition that came from 5.0 in terms of creature design. Every time I see one of their derpy faces, I just want to scree at it loudly. The Qitari Beast Tribe is really good if you've not done it yet. Not as good as some of the others we've had in the Beast Tribe series. Obviously, Namazu comes to mind in my opinion, but it was very well written, heartwarming in places that I won't spoil for you, and filled with stupidity, which is really the key to getting me to do these quest lines in general. They can take something as mundane as gathering and turn it into something I love. It's a wonderfully weird mount that nobody could have predicted, and it's just, it's so good. Go get it if you can. Number 4 then, it has to be on here, the Sabbat Emperador. This mount will set you back a cool 2 million MGP in the Gold Saucer, and is easily acquired by doing the Fashion Report every Friday, which I hear somebody does quite a collection of videos on that have done the past few years, since the first one, every Friday. I don't know who that could be, but you should definitely Google that on a Friday. They would appreciate the views for sure. Honestly, do Fashion Report and this is yours in no time. People ask me, oh, how have you got all the mounts from a Gold Saucer? Well, time, play for many years, and do the Gold Saucer minigames, including Fashion Report. Easy peasy. And why would you want a massive, bouncy, springly, green bounding cactus mount? Yeah, that's right. I can't think of a reason either. Designed to kinda look like the actual Gold Saucer there with a Sabbat tender with it, this is the coolest mount you can get from a Gold Saucer in the game at the time of recording. In the future, there might be some really crazy stuff added, but during May 2020, this is the coolest thing that we have access to. Okay, future viewer? It's awesome, and you should get it as well if you haven't. I love the size of it. It's one of the biggest vertical standing mounts in the entire game. It glows as night approaches. It has so much detail. The seated position of your character is frankly hilarious, and it bounces when it runs around in ground only mode. I love it so much, and I really recommend saving up the MGP for this when you can. You will certainly not regret adding this to your collection. It's just an addictive mount to hop around on, I can assure you. Hours of fun. Okay, so here we are at the last 3 on my list already. Bear in mind it's becoming impossible at this point to say which is better than another, so they're kind of tied, but it has to be on the list, and honestly, it is my favorite themed mount in the entire game, and that's the Mikoshi, or the Namazu carriage mount. This then you can get from finishing the Namazu Beast Tribe in Stormblood for crafting and gathering. Whilst I was never the biggest fan of crafting or gathering, especially before the changes that Shadowbringers brought, which I love, one of the best rewards was seeing the next rank up of cutscene for the Namazu Endora ILO. It was the best storyline in the game. You can quote me on that. I loved it that much. It had the best character design in my opinion, some of the best animations ever made for the game, and seriously stunned me with both the hilarious writing and the entertaining nature of the Namazu and their culture as a whole, which really for some reason resonated with me. It is why I love the Namazu so very much, and why everything I do has to be Namazu related. I have Namazu plushies, I have a Namazu pillow. You can imagine, right? And I really wish they were real in our world too. I really do. I just want to hug them sometimes and tell them that everything is just going to be fine. Don't worry about it. So the carriage or Mikoshi, it's just pure joy. The half-dead Namazu at the end of a carriage never fails to make me smile. The mount action to Wasshoi, yes, makes me happy in general. The flight mode has the Namazu hanging on for dear life as you fly about zones with them clinging on from those little bits of wood, their bells clinging around as you fly, with some of them having shocked faces. Nothing about this mount is bad at all. It's such a passionate creation, I think. And if this video was about choosing only one mount, this would probably be it. You can probably guess that already though. But there we go. What a lovely mount. So how do you top the Namazu mount? Well, in the last 2 spots, I really have to express a kind of different emotion. So I have like the passionate choice. But number 2 is the Ruby Guiba, which might come as a surprise to some people. So this is from Ruby Extreme, like Ruby Weapon Extreme, which is more recently added to the game in 5.2. By rare, I mean that this mount is rare, or at least it is at the moment. So about every 10 official clears, you might see a mount. Usually 10 runs for us in our static is about 1 mount we see. Sometimes we do 10 or 11 and don't see any. We've done this trial on Extreme sort of, I don't know, probably 90 times or so now for people, trying to get the mount by sheer power of attrition for as many times as we can, for as many people as we possibly can. But the only way we actually got to that point is when the content first came out. For the first time in the entire history of the game, I actually got to do this Extreme with a static. Now, I've cleared Extremes at the time of release. That's not a big deal. I love going and pugging the Extremes because I find them quite fun to do with random people. But usually, that's with FC mates or half pugs. But to take an entire static raiding team to an actual Extreme blew my mind. The sheer coordination we could employ, the bliss of actually learning each mechanic ourselves and never failing to something after a while, it was amazing. Now, some people will say, well, Meoni, you do Savage content with them. This is a lot easier. Why is this still fun for you, and why do you hold the mount in such high regard? Because the idea then is that I can effectively get Extreme trial raid mounts whilst the content is actually relevant now. It's the best feeling ever, not having to wait for that mount to eventually come round to me from some weird roll. If you've got 8 good people, then you are guaranteed to get a mount eventually, right? Be that 8 runs or 80 runs, you are going to get it, and those people are going to stick around. The feeling of working on something for a long time and clearing it, you don't need me to tell you that that's a real rush. It's a literal drug in your system. The adrenaline that pumps out and the pleasure you get from clearing content that you work on for hours is second to none, both in Savage, both in an Extreme, or anything like that, even Heaven on High, That is why we play this game with friends, to have that sort of response. To have such a beautifully designed mount out of this, Designed after a weapon series with a great mounted theme. Oh, that music is so good. And the Ruby weapon fight in general, a fight based on one of the most amazing super bosses in Final Fantasy, i.e. Final Fantasy VII, which took me like a week to do as a kid back then in Final Fantasy VII, trying to figure out. It brings back so many memories, and the fight does such great justice to the influence that it's based on with some of its mechanics. The mount is clad in this ruby metal design and looks so good. It literally just, it is perfect. It is everything you could hope for as a dragon mount from this boss. Definitely one of the few mounts that I will use all the time and plan to use for quite some time into the future. And most likely you'll see me flying around on this out of preference between video making. It's just nice, and I like humming along to the tune, obviously. So lastly, some people might disagree with me, but that's the benefit of a top 10 video. Everyone's going to have a different top 10. But my fondest memories in this game, like I say, are with my friends. The best content you can actually do to get a sense of appreciation for them, in my opinion, is to actually do challenging content and actually overcome it. The Raffle Axe mount then, 4-player extreme difficulty trials. Oh boy. This mount is the representation of a challenging grind that I loved every second of. It had all the charm of an 8-player extreme fight, but mixed the mechanics of Monster Hunter and a limited heal system to really make you pay attention to the fight's mechanics. We spent hours and hours chatting and laughing until we finally finished our 50 runs in total, which we actually decided to go further and do more beyond that for other people. And it was so enjoyable seeing people get punted across the entire play area by a crazed Raffle Axe, in my opinion. To jump on its back and stab it with an action time maneuver to drop it to the floor, to avoid its fire blasts and its charges. Oh man, this is by far the best content they put into the game at that time. It made me wide-eyed and practically begged Square Enix for more, and I really do hope they do more 4-player extreme ideas again. It is everything I could ever want for and much more. You know, not having to rely on more people other than just you and 3 other friends is such a cool idea. Please do not end this where it began. Add more like this. The possibilities for future content based off of the concept itself are endless. I would kill for more crossovers from games to actually get the same treatment. I think that's the best way they can represent it. And it must be such a great honor for Capcom to see their game represented so damn well in a partner's work. It must be so fulfilling, because I love this fight so very much. The mount is amazing. I'm a massive fan of Monster Hunter as well, and I love Raffle Axe. It's a massive mount with 100% accuracy on its design to that of Monster Hunter World. I love the sounds as it moves, the roars when you summon and desummon it. The flight music is the great hunt music. Oh god, it is just perfection. You couldn't ask for a better crossover at all. And more recently, you can even go with your friends in Shadowbringers or solo and unsync it nowadays. So there you go. Back then it was quite a fun challenge, but now everyone can go and grab this eventually, which is actually something I really love, because I think everyone deserves to experience the fight, even if it is nowhere near as difficult. You know, it is really fun to go and do, even unsynced. So definitely try this out if you want a cool looking mount. And there we go. That's my top 10, or rather 10 mounts that I love quite equally in some parts, especially the latter few I listed there. Honestly, whilst minion collections are more my sort of cup of tea, I do love the idea of working for my mounts, but some I just find not as appealing, especially when it comes to the feast season mounts. I will probably never ever get one of those in my entire game life, and I'm fine with this. As long as I can get my minions, I'm fine. Even if they put all of the cool ideas in their overcast shop, you know, I'm happy. It's cool. I've got some cool stuff already, and there are some other ways of getting some other cool mounts in the game, and hopefully they add more stuff like Raffle Axe. Oh, it's so good. Thank you kindly for watching this video. This was actually requested by some people in particular. Some of them my patrons, and some other viewers have mentioned this more recently to me and on my Discord. So to have stuff recommended for me to do next, perhaps a top 10 glamour items or something, that's something we could easily do. Leave me a message below with your own ideas, and you know, or let me know what your favorite mounts are. If you agree with my list, or if you have your own, let me know. And enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you all next time.